Fennel, who's the daughter of Lelia Tudor Torrey, who's the daughter of Emma Rebecca Haynes,
right.
who's the daughter of Lelia Virginia Howard, who's the daughter of Emmeline Woolfolk, who's the daughter of Judith Mormon, and we had TG and I had so much trouble, who's the daughter of Elizabeth Stith. And Elizabeth Stith is the daughter of Lucy Cox Hall, who's the daughter of Anne Bolling. This is why we're white Bollings. Who's the daughter of Anne Cock, who is the daughter of the unknown Elizabeth, the oldest matriarch in our family tree.
The first it was in this country.
She's unknown.
Well, she is in the Virginia colony in the very, very early days.
Yeah,
and they got to Virginia in 1607, 1608, and they had such a hard time. They had trouble with disease. The Indians were very hostile.
Well, the first colony in Virginia got wiped out.
No, that's North Carolina.
No, that's Jamestown, Virginia.
Well, anyway, a guy named Richard Cock, C-O-C-K-E, ends up with a spread on the James River by 1630. By the time they'd figured out that they could grow tobacco, and they had worked out a deal with all the Indian tribes. And he marries a woman who is recorded, her only name we know of her is Elizabeth. And he has two sons, both of which he names Richard Cock, because he wants to be sure his name survives, and children were dying like flies, so he names them both. Sure. And so there's Richard Cock the older, who takes over that beautiful property in the bend in the James River. And then there's Richard Cock the younger, poor thing, who has to go off sort of over near Richmond and settle over there. And we descend through Richard Cock the younger. And his daughter is Anne, did I say Anne or Lucy here?
Anne, I think.
Anne. His daughter is Anne. And her daughter, who's our forebear, and is the Bolling. Now, the Bolling is important because her father was married twice. The first time he married Pocahontas. And so in Virginia, there are people who descend from that marriage, and they are known as Red Bollings because they have a Native American in their line. But we descend from his marriage to the Richard Cock's descendant, and so we are White Bollings.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And it turns out, as I was messing around in there, Virginia, it got to be... there weren't many of them, and of course they were using slave labor, and so they tended to marry each other. And we've known for a long time that in Grandpapa's line, in Ia's daddy's line, first cousins married each other.
Because there was nobody else.
Because really that was what they did. But it turned out, as I started to look at it, that that both Lily and Grandpapa were related to each other because they both descend in their tree. The branches overlap. They both are descendants of a woman named Elizabeth Buckner Stith, S-T-I-T-H. And she was really quite a beautiful lady, and one of the things that's very exciting to me about her is she had her portrait painted in Williamsburg when she was about 50 years old, which is really kind of old, and this was 1735, I guess. And her portrait is still there in Williamsburg.
Oh, great.
It used to be on display in the artist's house, which sits right up next to the governor's mansion, but they took it down because it wasn't wearing very well, and now it's back in the archives. And when TG and I went, we asked to see it, and we went, and they pulled it out of the archives, and we stood there, and she really was a very remarkable lady, and I have it here. It's posted on my tree.
Was she scary looking?
No, she is. I'm going to pull her up and show her to you because you would recognize her.
At the time.
You would recognize her as, oh yes, that's my relative. She's related to us. She is obviously a person of some importance, as my grandmother would have said.